a lumberwood, a dunderhead, and a mutt's vow. You are about to cascade into my Carcarious agriculture, and I assure you I am eminently assuring you. Forget it. Go check it out for yourself. Joe Joyce's advertisement on BT. He had Susie from Countdown help him step his vocab up because his smack talk was so poor. It was a very good advert. Well done. And they got the right boxer to do it as well. But yeah, it's been a frustrating year for Joe Joyce. You could tell he's frustrated because he's still putting up videos today about AJ putting up the sparring footage, and AJ made a tweet about it and moved on a long time ago, but it's still on Joe's mind. And Frank isn't really, or hasn't really delivered for Joe. Joe's playing second behind Daniel Dubois, someone he knocked off. And anyway, they've announced that he's going to fight Christian Hammer. Yeah, June the 2nd, Wembley Arena. Main event, Jason Cunningham versus Tete and Callum Johnson versus Igor Mikhalkin. It's not a bad show. It's not a bad show. But it's a fight that people expect Joe to win, and it's not really going to enhance his reputation as such. Frank's going to no doubt tell us he's the only one who would fight Joe. The announcement that Joyce was fighting Hammer didn't get a good reception on social media. In fact, it was like,
what do we think about Hammer?
Martin Bacoli versus Joe Joyce. That would have been nice, but, you know, we don't get the fights that we think are really good. It just doesn't happen. Just doesn't happen. Daniel Dubois knocked out Trevor Brand. Took the WBA lower tier, whatever. And, you notice he doesn't want to fight Joyce. Doesn't want to avenge the loss. Calling out Dillian, who just got knocked out. Wants fights like that. The heavyweight division is becoming the suspect division. You know, like, I saw this comment from someone who I interact with on Twitter, because BT put up a post about Daniel fighting Dillian, and this is what they had to say. Gonna have to pay him a lot of money to make this happen. Let's see what the offer is. And this is what it comes down to. BT don't pay out to get the names. Like, Dillian's still a name. Like, at least 2-3 million. They didn't even want to pay him 2-3 million to fight Fury. So the fight's not gonna happen. Frank's not going to dig into his pocket. BT ain't going to dig into their pocket and make that fight. Piss easy fights to make. Dillian's a free agent. And the likes of Joe Joyce is signed alongside Dillian on BT. You know, in all truth, Dubois versus Trevor Bryan should have been the last fight for that lower tier belt. It should have been an eliminator for the super champion and get rid of the belt. Because I wouldn't be shocked if Frank can't take that lower tier belt out of the Frez Aquendo, Shannon Briggs, Popping Dirty, Lucas Brown, Shagayev, BJ Flores, Trevor Bryan era in terms of opponents he's going to get for Daniel. The Frank Warren sympathizers are probably going to try and defend Frank when he announces Manuel Char will be Daniel's first defense at the O2 Arena. And it's going to be packed and chocker. And we're taking over boxing. Leave it out. Joseph Parker signed with Sky Sports Boxer XX, and he was calling out Dillian, who just got knocked out. Dillian responded and said, yeah, he's ready to go. This isn't the first time Joe's recently asked for that fight, fresh after Dillian got knocked out by Tyson Fury. But didn't Parker withdraw from a Joe Joyce fight recently? Because Andy Lee couldn't train him because his wife was pregnant. Wasn't that the reason behind the aborted fights? So after what must have been a real strenuous effort from Joseph Parker, he serves up a dose of what he does the very best, and that's bigging up Tyson Fury, telling us that Fury would beat Anthony Joshua, would beat Alexander Usyk. I wonder why Joe derives so much pleasure pumping up Tyson Fury, telling us how Tyson would destroy the rest of the heavyweight division. Have we ever heard Joe say what he could do with Tyson Fury? Would Tyson Fury just walk through him?
You know, I understand that there's a lot of talk about the broadcast deal in the background. Joshua, you know, I think is going to re-sign with Sky. I believe that deal's done. I think it'll be on box office in the UK, and I think DAZN will have the international rights.
I wonder where he got his information from. Tyson Fury. Now that was a few months back. And it looks like he's trying to save face now today. He's saying, When is fight? Where will it take place? And what TV channel is it on? He's still trying to suggest that even though AJ signed to DAZN, it might not be on DAZN. Ground-breaking link-up. So AJ is done with Sky Sports. He turned pro with Sky Sports. They arguably have had the most successful network and boxer relationship from a business standpoint that any British boxer and network have had. But now he's gone over to DAZN. The new deal is reportedly worth upwards of £100 million. He says he's entering a new phase in his career with a new training environment, new coaches, and now a new broadcaster. AJ will now become a global ambassador for DAZN as well as a special advisor to the group. They threw that in to entice him. And maybe that's what Sky didn't do, or they couldn't do. What were they going to do? They've never did that to any athlete. But yo, DAZN have done that with Golovkin as far as I know. I don't know what Canelo's deal entailed, but Golovkin had some kind of stake in the DAZN business. And that's what AJ has signed up for. Still waiting for them to announce a date for Usyk and Joshua. Mike Coppinger, he reckons August the 20th in Jeddah, according to his sources from Saudi Arabia. But we'll see. Now, Usyk is good. He's a southpaw. He has pedigree and everything. But this rematch here will answer some questions for me about AJ. And it's a legit question. Does AJ love the hustle and his ability to make money more than the grind and toll of fighting in the ring? Because winning is the optimum in this rematch. Let's make no mistake, but you can train, you can do your best. But if it's not to be, it's not to be. But I want to see if AJ is matching his business grind and acumen right now in the ring. There's all this talk from Robert Garcia that AJ has to be in the right headspace and this, that, and there's people on board trying to get AJ's head right. What right headspace? Do you want it? How much do you want it? The news of AJ's huge deal was a little too much for Tyson Fury and Frank Warren. They couldn't sleep, so they got up and tried to make a little noise themselves. You know what I mean? Like, Fury was on talk radio talking with Piers Morgan. I'll give you £1 million, I should say, if he returns to the ring. And then on the other platforms, he's talking about giving $500 million and he'll fight the winner out of Usyk and Joshua. Amusing if you find it amusing, not amusing if you don't find it amusing. He's had these conversations with Frank Warren at an Italian restaurant, and they got some big announcement they're going to make.
Do you consider BT Sport to now be the #1 broadcaster for boxing?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's been the #1 for quite a while now. You know, we set out from nothing, from absolutely nothing.
Really? BT is the top broadcaster of boxing over here? Frank's just saying stuff now. At this point, he's just saying shit now. I mean, Frank's probably put one card on that's piqued the radar of boxing fans this year. And that's Fury versus White. Taylor versus Catterall as well. 2 fights. Last week he put on Mark Leach versus Liam Davis. And here's somebody talking about, no one on my timeline is talking about Mark Leach tonight, and it really F's me off. This guy deserves so much more credit. Little magician of a boxer who has done things the hard way. In tough again tonight, being forced to fight away from home, but watch him go, he's brilliant. Which might all be true. But I replied and said, you're pissed off that people ain't talking about him. You should be pissed off because it was poorly promoted. Why are BT putting this out at the same time as Richard Riakporhe versus the Italian on Boxer XX Sky? Now you might say, well, they're bantamweights. They're never going to get the same attention as Richard Riakporhe as a cruiserweight. Maybe so, but it's just another card where BT and Queensbury have just been outshone by the competition. I mean, Nathan Gorman left Frank recently. He went to Sky and now he's ended up on Channel 5. A few months back, it looked like Wasserman and Boxer XX were going to share promotion on Sky. But now Wasserman have gone to Channel 5. It's a little confusing because they promote Eubank, but Eubank fights on Sky. But Nice and Cali have got this deal with Channel 5. It seems to me Sky don't mind if the Sauerlands drag most of their fighters across to Channel 5 as long as Eubank don't go. But yeah, Nathan Gorman, he's fighting on Channel 5 this week with the Sowlands. And even Nathan is better promoted than the Frank Warren fighters. You know? Channel 5 had the sense to advertise Nathan Gorman's fight on some of the boxing media outlets on YouTube. Good idea. Good idea. Josh Kelly's on the undercard this Friday, if you're interested. God willing, I will be going live for that card if nothing pops up. Mick Hennessy's still pitching in their Hennessy Sports. They lost the Channel 5 contract to the Sowlands or Wasserman, but they're back in their pitching there on Sky. Looks like Mick's having to give up a little control here. They've got Ben Shalom as the promoter, because he's the main promoter at Sky. And they've got Carl Greaves, the matchmaker. But at least Mick gets to keep some of his boxers on the TV. You know, even Mick Hennessy might be catching up with Frank soon. Sam Eggington is headlining, taking on Przemysław Zek, who I'm assuming is a Polish fighter who's 18-0 with 6 stoppages. So the police will take no further action against former British champion, heavyweight champion Julius Francis over the viral incident in which he knocked out an aggressive punter while Julius was working as a security guard. There's a lot to say on it, really, isn't there? Like, I know a lot of people, you know, yeah, he deserved it. And he was a stupid kid, wasn't he, really? He was a stupid kid. Will anyone learn any lessons from this? Like, internet trolls and pranksters and those who can't separate the real world from the virtual one? I don't know. Trying to get in the mind of a prize fighter, retired or active, when you point your hand in his face, to him, that's a jab that has to be countered. The police didn't take it no further. I think part of that is a lot of the SIA checks have to go through the police, don't they? And basically, they know nobody really wants to do that job. And the best way to deter people from being security guards, whether it's in a shopping centre or a shop or a club, is to let this man or kid or whatever he was run rapshod around the place with no consequence for his actions, when it was him who provoked Julius, the security guard. And with the incident going viral, they had to make a choice on what made more sense. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I think the guy who got knocked out's friends were the weirdest to me. Like, before the knockout punch, they was all throwing their hands about and shouting. So when you hear a man expressing himself aggressively verbally, you would assume if his friend gets knocked out, he's going to throw hands, and no hands got thrown. Didn't do a thing. Talking about, was that necessary, while somebody's folding up their friend like a deck chair, putting him in some recovery position. I mean, just look pathetic. Just look pathetic. That's what it looked in the end. Keep it simple for the young men out there. In a beef, a woman may have 10 to 15 seconds to bark in a man's face before the man sees that red mist, and it could get sticky. You as a man have a fraction of 10 to 15 seconds barking in a man's face. You don't have as much time as the woman. In fact, the old school will tell you, don't talk at all. Either walk, run, or swing. Don't talk. The pre-SIA badge security, I tell you what, for guys like that, who ran up on Julius, it wouldn't work out well for them. It wouldn't. Them guys were savages. Yeah, the days of no CRB? No CRB check. Yeah, them days, they were robbing people in the club for their own personal stash of drugs and then selling them on. Girls were getting molested. People were getting beaten up, and they weren't stupid. They ain't going to beat you up in front of where they're working. They'll wait until you walk down the street and get you then. It was serious. So both these light heavyweights can box a little. Smith's boxing ability has improved throughout the years, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily their strongest selling point, is their ability to keep range and jab and move. They're both very hard-hitting 175-pounders. Smith had a horrible cut on his left eye when he took the title from Vlasov, a fight I believe he lost. Artur Beterbiev had a vicious cut on his forehead when he fought Marcus Brown. That came from a head clash, or a headbutt. Beterbiev managed to finish the fight in the 9th round. So they can both be cut, and they can both be hit. Bivol and Joe Smith took turns hurting each other. I don't think Joe's actually been on the canvas, has he? Beterbiev, he was floored in a IBF defense of his belt against the unfancied Callum Johnson from the UK. Callum can hit though. And he was floored in one of his come-up fights against a gatekeeper level opponent. So he can be decked as well. On paper, I guess Joe has the better chin. Who's the harder hitter? I don't know. They both hit hard, you know. They both hit hard. Boxing pedigree would probably go to Beterbiev. Well, I don't see Beterbiev as a boxer like that, really. I like the way he ground down Vodzik, but Vodzik was showing him some of the more subtle points of the game early. But the 12 rounders, I keep reminding people. I guess the guy who can keep his wits about him, carry out the game plan best, and hold his boxing together the best, hold their shape, is going to come out victorious, is the most likely way the fight will play out. They're both about 6 foot 5'11", similar reach, around 73 inches. Haven't really decided who's going to win, you know. You know, I've seen Joe Smith wrote off so many times. Who's going to be the aggressor? Who's going to be the boxer? Who's going to carry out the successful game plan? Is it going to be a toe-to-toe brawl? BoxRec say that their reaches are similar, 73 inches, but Jerry Cooney was saying that Joe Smith has got 1.5 foot longer reach. He's obviously embellishing and exaggerating and making his story a little more colourful, but he believes that Joe must stay behind the jab, establish his base early. Beterbiev is a slow starter. Beterbiev, better amateur pedigree. He likes to throw short punches up close. Cooney believes it's going to be a tough fight to score, and that's what I believe. That's what I believe. Looking forward to it. Peter Fury will tell anyone who will listen that Hughie Fury is still growing, he's still learning, and the best is yet to come. But I remember him pulling out of a Joseph Parker fight. They did fight eventually for the WBO title. I remember the Dillian Whyte fight that was supposed to happen. That didn't materialize. And I wasn't all too shocked when he pulled out of the Michael Hunter fight. I don't know if it's a Peter Fury thing. Tyson Fury had a lot of pullouts when he was with Peter Fury. Savannah Marshall, she's got this injury that's delayed the Clarissa Shields fight. Peter Fury has apologized to the fans of Michael Hunter because he's been in for a hard camp like they have. He speaks about Hughie struggling through the illness, but he won't say what the illness is, and he's not obligated to tell me, personally anyway, what it is. They're saying the fight's postponed, but I think it's dead in the water. They'll probably reschedule Ricky Hatton's exhibition against Barrera. That'll probably get rescheduled. You see, I've said this several times on this channel. When you're young and you're healthy and you get your opportunities as a boxer, you got to take them, because there are no timetables for boxers to comply with. You got to take your opportunities. And when Michael Hunter had his shot at that eliminator with Hrgovic and he didn't take it, his career's just spiraled into mediocrity. When he pulled out of the Hrgovic eliminator, he was talking about, yeah, I'm going with Triller. Like, this is a better deal. And just the other week, he made a video talking about the Triller thing didn't work out.
Go! Go!
Yep. As the DAZN and MATCHROOM brand continue to grow. Australia, September. The other details will be announced soon. Brock Jarvis, 20-0 with 18 knockouts. Don't know anything about this kid, but obviously at this level he can crack a little, against Liam Paro, who is 22-0 with 13 knockouts. So this is a battle of undefeated Australian light welterweights. It would be nice if other promoters and networks around the world would take note that they're putting their O's on the line. They're not trying to hold on to them like, if I lose this is the end of everything. Sky Nicholson, she's on the card. We've seen her in the UK and America on Matchroom cards. She'll be looking to go to 5-0. And they've also got Dempsey McKean, the heavyweight. He's 21-0 with 13 stoppages, 31 years of age. Has a knockout win over Jonathan Rice. I mention that because that's the only scalp I recognize of any note. And he'll be looking to be putting in an impressive performance and raise his profile somewhat. No Ebony Bridges, which was a surprise to a lot of people. I don't think they'll keep her out of the loop totally. Probably give her some commentary or punditry work, or it'd be a total waste of resources, considering the money that DAZN and MATCHROOM have invested in her. So she'll be around the event in some capacity, if not in the ring. Now, I don't try and sell a fraud over here. I didn't watch the whole of the BERLANGA Angulo fight. I watched highlights and I watched as much as I could. Apparently, a lot of people think he didn't win the fight. He got caught with way too much uppercuts, right uppercuts, and right hands over the top, didn't he? And he was a little easy to walk down into the ropes. A lot of people are making a big deal of his indifferent performances, but I'm not, because even when he was starching his opponents on the come up early, I was like, I don't think he's all of what a lot of people are saying. I really don't. I was on that side of it. So I'm not going to write him off. At the same time, he needs to make some adjustments. He needs to work on his game. He's still undefeated. He's still young. But it's no surprise to me he's getting the criticism he's getting now, because I was never on the hype train in the first place. So there you go. Jaime Munguia looked huge. That's what I was noticing against Jim Kelly. Not shredded or cut up, but just big, really big. And I know Jim Kelly has fought at 169 and 162, but for the most part, he's not a big middleweight. He's not a big middleweight. He lost a super welterweight WBO title fight to Liam Smith, who's also fought Jaime Munguia. And they set the weight limit for this fight at 165, although they were saying it was a super middleweight fight. Yeah? And Jaime just looked huge. Now, not saying the fight was fixed, but it was doctored for a knockout. That's what it was, because who knows what Jaime rehydrated to? Who knows? Well, I know he was way bigger than Kelly, way bigger. The commentator said that Munguia was sluggish. Sergio Mora seemed to think, no, that Jimmy Kelly was quick, he was sharp. It was a bit of both. And yeah, he did get lit up in that second round nicely. You know what I mean? Like, Munguia caught some clean left hooks. And Kelly did relatively well, boxing and moving early on, but in the fifth, Munguia was teeing off on Kelly on the ropes, and obviously Kelly didn't want the smoke. So he attempted to wrap Munguia up. He was behind Munguia, holding him around his waist, not letting go. And the referee pulled him apart and said, look, let's get back to boxing. And by this time, he was in panic mode. His concentration was broken. He pulled backwards when the action resumed and caught a very good left hook and staggered him into the ropes. First knockdown, then a right uppercut floored him, and one more knockdown after that. It was over. Kelly said that he never felt power like that. Well, it could be because Ivy probably weighed in at light heavy or whatever. Now, both the PBC and Charlo and Golden Boy and Munguia are claiming they want to fight each other. He said he's ready for the challenge. He told Charlo, show some balls, stop hiding behind Al Heyman and come fight me. After the lawsuit between Golden Boy and the PBC, they haven't done that much business together. So why am I going to take one side over the other that you're ducking the smoke when there's been a reluctance for them to do these cross-promotion fights? So it's just clout chasing for now. That's all it is, really, isn't it? If I was a gambler, I'd put up a stack of money that fight's not happening next and be confident that I'm going to recoup and then some, in all truth. You know, there's no point in trying to win some propaganda war on who is the real fighter from who's not. Both Jaime and Jamal are an embarrassment. Not so much for the opposition they face, but the amount of opposition they've ducked at 160.